Welcome back. So I came across this post from Graham Hancock the other day, and I've been looking at it, and I thought I'd talk about it in this episode. So what I found and some of my thoughts, because they're pretty. We'll see. But this is called Haʻamonga, Maui, and it quote, ancient megalithic trilithon of the South Pacific island of Tonga Tapu. So, Tonga Tapu. So it's over here. So we're looking over here on this island, I guess. On this island is this thing. And if we look it up here, it's a trilithon, or trilith, is a structure consisting of two vertical stones supporting a third stone horizontally, like Stonehenge. And there. But notice the difference. There is a difference. This one is slotted in here, whereas the Stonehenge is atop it. Just the difference of note. Okay, so let's look at this thing though. Go back here. Of note, the word Haʻamonga means a stick with loads on both ends carried over the shoulder. Maui. So if we look up here, according to Wikipedia, it was built in the 13th century by this king in honor of his two sons. 13th century. It is sometimes called the Stonehenge of the Pacific. But if we go down here, according to traditional accounts, the monument was made by the folk hero Maui, as the stones were thought to be too large for mortals to handle. Maui was supposed to have obtained the stones from this other island and carried them to Tonga in a giant canoe. Historical analysis places its creation around 1200 AD. So, according to modern science, this structure was formed 1200 AD. That's what modern science says. So let's kind of take a scholar look at it real quick. I think I still got that there. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure if any of these are specifically going to argue how this structure was made. So let's start with some images I took. So basically I went through Twitter or YouTube and watched some videos, and here are the images. So let's find real quick just for reference. Here are some people who maybe let's say maybe this is a male female, so like the male is probably relatively short since he looks about the same height as her, so maybe it's the like 5.5 feet on the low end here, like around this height, so then maybe pushing 15 feet in height. And then across this stone that's cradled across the two stones is maybe about the same in length. So it's pretty big stones of the size where it's like 1200 AD. How did they do this? On an island in 1200 AD they did this? And then it's like, wait, what's the evidence of this? Why if they did this in 1200 AD, why is there a traditional account suggesting that Maui did it? Like, that's a little odd. So I thought maybe we could go through some images and here's some Pacific Island music in the meantime as I keep talking from this area. Choir. So be it. I said that maybe we can look at this post then. I said, fascinating. Maui has been coming up in my research recently. So, like the last episode and before your videos. Maui's snaring the sun. I mean, really, like, in this area, I believe, around here. Stuff in here, my whole playlist of Hawaii. Starting with when I kind of noticed Hawaii was a sphere. I'm like, wait a minute. I think this was a sphere once. Started noticing it, then I'm really developing it more. And then getting to a point where I mapped it somewhere in there, like here, closing in. So these are really trying to figure out what the hell's happening, just kind of noticing that the sphere was a thing and trying to decipher through. And then here is when I'm really starting to put it together as a sphere. And then this is the sphere on an orange. But it's a thing. It's a thing. I know it sounds insane, but the legend of Maui is describing a time in Earth's history when the Hawaiian, I say, to not sound so absurd, the Hawaiian Emperor Seamount Chain was being formed. Kind of when this sphere of the Hawaiian sphere was rolling throughout the Pacific and moving around based on the undercurrents and overcurrents of the Earth's expansion process and global flood that was happening. And I said, well, maybe, just basically, we don't know, in short. We don't know with absolute certainty, as well as like the details of just generally what's happening. We don't know with certainty that this structure is not a product of a sphere forming in this location, rolling out this way, going over to the edge of Australia, where then it interacted with, like this location was over here and was over here together, and Hawaii got to that point, and then it's opened the location, but not before a jet stream went up this way and accreted material onto North America, and then the sphere itself went up this way, got up to this point, went underneath here through this path to this corner at the North Pole, which was actually over here, at which point the swinging out of these two segments from up in the North Pole region swung out and pushed the Hawaiian sphere this way, and then it ran into resistance relating to this crater, or this caldera, the largest caldera on Earth that formed at the time of the Hawaiian Bend here, because it was a pressure from this rolling sphere that was pushing into this area when they were closer together, applying a force there and then bending off of it, applying another force over here, bending off it a second time to go over here, so that there's actually forces being applied through here, which is related to the Mariana Trench forming and this like finger reaching out and lightning bolt looking thing, like energetic energetically like electricity, like a static like current between from a finger that's not quite touching, but like a current is connecting, to have a little like electrical flow. But that's where this bend is, and then it stops over here, which was really applying pressures over into here as well. So there's all this stuff going on. And then the Legends of Maui says he has brothers. So Maui, the sphere of Hawaii, I've generally treated as a single sphere because it appears to be the most like prominent. So it's like, but then the narratives of the Legends of Maui bring to my attention the possibility that there's other spheres involved, and maybe they're also doing similar things elsewhere, like over here, and just depositing materials in similar ways. Maybe it's not truly a sphere, but as much as like a system that decays as like a row of material as the earth expands. But, I mean, maybe there's spheres in other spheres involved, is what I was thinking, in a way where if we go back to this meaning, a stick with loads on both ends carried over its shoulder. Now imagine there's like a sun, like the sun, and there's planets orbiting around it. It's almost like there's a physical coupling bar, maybe, that like energetically like overlays this other system of the sun, and then goes down to like a balance level outward, and then on that rests the spheres of the planets that are orbiting around it, in a way where it's like supported, carries the loads on both ends over the shoulder so that there's like balances, and then over the like this implies though that the load is carried by some kind of person who has like a spine and a body, legs, that then apply a pressure into a ground like resistance, basically, that then holds this overall system standing. So like a magnetic field having a flow coming out, kind of like this, like a magnetic field around the location where the Hawaiian sphere was. At one point, the Hawaiian sphere was right here, which was actually over here. When it came out of here and rolled this way, went over here, it was actually at this location. Same location. But then the Pacific started to open up and it moved over here. But that location was also over here and it moved away from this location, effectively. And so as it was doing that, it was forming like an actual flow going this way that was running into resistance, going back, but into that flow and going back and across this way. And then other currents that I believe were coming more across this way, across like along the nose here, yeah, along this path basically, across against that along the resistance, to then go across and lead into other resistance to then wrap back to create an actual like figure 8 flow path here, that then some of the flow went more like down, like legs, and made leg structures that this stood on. So like Maui then had like on his shoulders these jet streams where Maui, the sphere of Hawaii, went, but maybe these other paths or these other spheres that went with it as like a coupling, like a solar system in motion, like those images you see. This is not, solar systems aren't like this and orbiting around the sun. They're like this, and it's like flying in a path, but it's rotating like around the sun kind of thing. Maybe something more of that nature is why it has all these other currents, because there's other systems involved. This is where the Yucatonics opened over here. This current flow was coming up out of here at the time this way, and then dividing to the right, up out of there to the right where that is. Really dividing down here and going up though, and running into resistance there because of the cross current coming through like this way. From over here though, this way across, which maybe it's worth looking at this animation real quick. When the Western Pacific was over here, so notice here's that jet stream coming out. There's that sphere, that point where Hawaii was over here, approximately, basically there, and going up this way, a jet stream that then was physically going along this boundary, applying pressures into North America. And then running into resistance of North America here. So currents that were flowing up this way and going more over this way, that then went up this way, ran into North America and created the Mid-Pacific Mountains, which is why Mid-Pacific region, Mid-Pacific Mountains are here. But really, if we go like this, this is the spray point going up this way to the point of the nose of the Mid-Pacific Mountains, which is the dragon, the nose of the dragon of the Mid-Pacific Mountains. And then it has this shape though. Then there's over here, so this is like probably some other spheres, if there were other systems, like the things say. So I was thinking maybe this Tonga Tapu, let's say Tonga Tapu is a location where currents flowed, that one of the spheres, I know, that's how long my comment was. Holy crap, did you see that? Oh my god, look at that thing. Holy crap. But then I looked around. So let's go back. I looked around and I posted this. Looked into it further. I came across this video. So here's the thing. We'll look through the images more in a second. Here's the thing, and then here's this. And then in the video, here's this. It seems like it has like English scratch. It almost looks like a tree that someone scratched their name in. I'm like, what the fuck? I guess it's possible that someone climbed this side up this and physically like scratched a name in there for some reason, but the whole of it looks kind of like it could have eroded text on it that's actually scraped into it, but now eroded, where the rest of it is unclear. But here maybe, so like this, if there's text, would kind of give credence to that it is man-made. If there's text, although it could be that the text is related to like fundamental current flows and points to things in ways that we just do not appreciate, and is like really revealing here. Because my hypothesis running so far is maybe this is, let's just say Maui did it. The sphere of Hawaii did it. Let's say the sphere of Hawaii did it. How could this be natural? Before we interpret that it must be, that it's man-made, we should probably rule out that it's natural. And the fact that I couldn't find anything. We don't acknowledge this boundary here. There's no apparent awareness of this. So it means this has not been studied very closely. Because it seems there's actual underground structure related to it, surrounding it. Which makes me think of like a fuse terminal, some kind of, pretty much a terminal. Some kind of a chakra that maybe is seen from a different angle in this case, where it's more like has an opening where current flows through it kind of thing. Notice also up here there seems to be like a through shape that maybe is people walking through, but it also seems to be pretty straight. Like it could, why aren't people walking through this way and this way? And like they seem to be continuing over here, so it almost looks like there might have been a current flow through. And then if we look at the shape of the, like down here, let's just look at these images though now. So I'll link these videos. The burden of Maui, which is specifically the burden with weight on both ends. Built in the 13th century, supposedly. It's highly, like, shaped coral. It's a little odd in that regard, and whereas the top is not. I think it's very smooth, relatively. That I find anomalous, first of all. Much more smooth. In general, it doesn't quite fit. It's not the right shape. Like it's too small. Which is a little odd. Maybe that's fine. Some other stuff there. Which looks quite megalithic as well. But like the earth does right angles. Like it could be reminiscent of that place in Japan that Robert Schoch is quite persuaded is geological. Yamagumi or whatever. Yamaguni, Robert Schoch. I know most people interpret that it's man-made, but Robert Schoch. As difficult as it may be for some to accept after carefully studying the Yanaguni monument, I have to report that I do not believe it is an artificial human-made structure. So, like, if this place has a geologist who is respected in the alternative theorist community, I mean, like, his opinion is not just, like, meritless. If he is saying this, then it could be that it's because they are natural and they're just misunderstood. They look man-made, kind of like Sage Wall. See my videos on Sage Wall, wherever that is. Sage Wall. Where I initially just kind of encounter it, and then I realize this is all etched by water currents. Unequivocally, it is what it is in these episodes. And this one, the evidence is clear. They're etched by water currents. Here are other videos like going through the water currents in more depth. Actually, this is the first encounter, 190. This is once I already have more so realized that it's currents. I think I put it at the bottom and then made new videos because it is before I realize that it's stage wall. I don't want it to be at the top, basically, and be like the intro video. I wanted the intro video to be more once I realized what was happening. Anyway, same thing though. It could be that this is just purely misunderstood as man-made. I don't know the full extent of evidence. I'm just looking at it through that lens to basically prove that it's not. If it's not, I want to know it's not, because I suspect it is natural. This at least, and therefore so too the other thing. For reasons that we will get into, including that the legend just says so, that Maui did it. Including that it looks kind of like a terminal type thing. Here, so here's an image from above. I mean, we really can see some kind of something going on. That looks like English right there, like Triton. I don't know. It looks a little too English there. That makes me say maybe someone did it recently. Like, you definitely can climb up the side of this. They don't want you to. There's a sign that says not to, but someone could, and they could scrape into this probably to hide their name at the top here for some reason at some point, and then years later a drone comes along and here we are. But it looks like it's all the way across. Something's going on in this area. It could just be the erosion looking like that though, but like it does seem related to this, which is a little weird. Like it seems like this is kind of similar to what's going on throughout over there, so I just don't know what to make of it. The images are not good enough. Like clearly something's there, but no one's actually noticed this. This is just a drone footage zooming out over top it. Maybe they noticed it, but like this, we don't can kind of see this. Imagine walking here and seeing like some green grass in a line. Maybe you notice. It would be far less noticeable than at this point, where you see the full-blown square shape around it. And most of the footage of this is on ground. There's only one drone video on YouTube. Someone in the Graham Hancock's video comments said they had a drone footage too. So maybe there's more, but like online, accessible to everyone, there's only one that I could find. This one, and this is what we see. So I get the thought, like imagine us, maybe I can do this and kind of draw on it now. What I am thinking when I look at this. This will relate to our next video for certain. Totally different location, unrelated topic in every appearance, except for I would say it relates like to the next video's topic. It's kind of interesting when whatever. Let's get there. So we definitely see what it looks like this here. And some kind of possible gap, well, it might be from people walking. Like, this doesn't seem to be from people walking. It does not seem to be some kind of like structure that they put down to like direct traffic here, foot traffic through. Like, don't walk around here. There's not like some kind of like post. There's not like posts like do not pass here. You know, where then maybe like it says go through here kind of thing. Somehow by doing that it led to this outline. None of that going on. Just this outline. And notice, interestingly, it appears like on this side it bends in here. Here. Like around there maybe. It's hard to say over here. Something of that nature. Just dot, 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 because it's not as clear. Dot, dot, dot over here, too. So, like, this is in the ground, but it's outside of this structure. So they might not have, like, what is that? Imagine trying to dig into, like, a post here and a post here. Maybe they would have noticed some kind of rock structure here and not here. Like, maybe there's more sediment here than there is here. They would have hit something like this and be like, what's that? But they didn't, because it's more in just sediment over here. I'm thinking literally like tiered, like a layer down like this. Like down though, some kind of height that then maybe it itself stands on some kind of larger platform that's not really visible in a literal like tiered kind of way that comes up to what is finally the top of this tiered structure of the chakra here of this thing is what I was thinking. Possibly, let's draw another thing going on here of a current flow, some kind of current flow involved, then that would be going through it. But like at that boundary that we kind of could see, like that, and through here. So through here, some kind of current flow, one way or the other. Let's just draw it that way for the sake of it, of having a direction, I guess. Although maybe not that way, but then I was thinking, well, maybe like over here, like along this, it's hard to draw. So like out here, I don't know, maybe out there even. Some kind of like general boundary that I'm not doing well, but more so like the actual dirt area. Yes, it's where people are walking, so it's most likely to be tread upon, but it also seems a little, what I noticed was like this here, like a little like maybe circles type things. I don't know, maybe some kind of circular energetic like point at this location that is somewhat visible in the way the grass is able to grow. Although, yes, there's people walking through. Yes, there's more shade between them, so the sun's not hitting it as much, so it's just naturally not going to grow as well. But also, the current flows, just like over here, created like optimal zones of where the grass can grow. Related, though, in this case, to a more circular pattern is what I'm getting at. Kind of maybe over here, too. Maybe. It's hard to say. Also, we can see over here what looks to be like this. So maybe actually it was going that way. If that's the case, if it was moving. Notice also this space. Let's go back a few images. Like this side, it's up to this corner, exactly touching, and then it's a little spaced over here. But then it's like fully spaced over here, but almost touching over here. That's kind of weird. I'd call that kind of weird, especially looking over here. This side is like right in line. This whole side is spaced. Almost, it gave me the impression that it physically turned, like vibrated. Imagine there's two, like, resonant fork tuner things, like fork tone things. Tuning fork. Imagine you strike a tuning fork like this, but it has a cap like this, and these then move, but so does the cap. Could it be that as the cap is moving, it actually shifted the left one from like over physically higher, like it was like this whole tuning fork segment was a little higher and this was a little more folded, like so that it was more over here like this, because then it would have to be more like this. And then it would have folded physically over here, with the whole rock then having to be like this. And then vibrating to then move to this position, where then there's this gap, and this gap. And this generally non-gap, and generally non-gap. Because if this is pushing against it, then the surface, like this surface, this surface in here where the pillar goes across is the one actually applying the force into it, so it would be abutting it most directly, making it more adjacent. And then this corner would be kind of like a pivot corner as it folded, as it bent out. So it kind of looks, based on this, as well as the narrowing of this, just kind of gives me that impression that there was some kind of resonant vibration, at least, at play here. So that's weird. Did they do that? Did they make this so that it could vibrate? I don't believe so. And then another oddity is this thing's really not alone. So I could see someone climbing up this for sure and getting to the top. It's totally possible. Not what anyone wanted, but it is possible. I don't know if anyone did it, just because it kind of looks like they might have. At the top, noticeably way less porous. Why would that be? Almost like it was protected by current flows that were flowing along it. So if we imagine back in this image, let's just erase all this stuff. Good enough. If we imagine, what was I saying? Oh yeah, that there's a current flow through this blue or red path, whichever direction, but also like atop it along this path at an elevation where it's generally running into resistance but finding paths through along channels like this, then that would effectively form a barrier to this red current. And because it's flowing along its surface, it's not flowing into the surface as much. So it would presumably smooth the surface, whereas the side ones, like this pink current, is probably also at that depth and flowing more directly into it as well. And maybe this blue or red current is actually not at that depth. Like up here, it's not able to actually penetrate this. So even if it's applying a force, it's almost like applying a force into a steel beam. It can't get past the resistance to actually etch and to create pressure internally to etch into this structure in the same way. Although it does seem to like divide that crossing current. Oh, I was going the wrong way. Trying to look from above. Possibly this, if there's a current going across, maybe it especially divides it here into several, so that it cuts through in multiple planes along this, with like a dominant outer edges of it, and then like recessive current path that it's still etched through here, and even probably like came out of the stone along these paths. So this kind of looks like what would have happened to this is the current got into the stone and then blew it out from the inside. From internal pressure to then create pores. So that over here, that was more just like predominantly what was happening, maybe, to a point where it's much more like coral-like. Whereas this just happened a little bit along here. This really looks like it went in over here where the path itself is visible, but then over here we don't see the path. Here we see it, we see it, we see it, we see it, and then it kind of fades away as it approaches here, really. Like, it seems like, and as well as there, these currents coming in here just exited the stone enough over here that in this area, probably related to this cross current, honestly. Like, as it approached this boundary of cross current, erosion was more likely, like the pressures on this area of the stone were harder for the current to get through, so it just went outside and eroded through the resistance of the stone here and didn't go actually through the stone, just through the boundary of the stone. Whereas over here, this looks that looks quite ammonite-like chakras. Very odd. If this is man-made, these are very odd features. I mean, the legend says it's not man. It's made by Maui. I'm just inclined to say, therefore, like it just is. It's a part of the process of the Earth's expansion. It's not just some megalith sitting here that someone made for some purpose. Here, I was thinking maybe it was like a cap that got blown off, literally, like a capstone. I don't know how far away it is. I don't think it's very far. A couple, like 50 meters kind of far, I think they said. But like there's a little circle there. There's kind of circular type things on it. And this shape here. I could see this stone just physically resting atop this. Like just right across it. Kind of like the roof of a building. But where the undercurrents of these current pressures, because there was this thing on it, let's just put that roof on it. Possibly exactly, I don't know if it's, I don't know the dimensions of that thing, of that stone. Let's just say. Notice also it corresponds to the circular pattern I was pointing to on the ground, that it has that like circular aspect to it. So maybe let's just put like a circular aspect to it there. But where like the undercurrent pressures blew it off to a point where it actually got launched away, wherever exactly it is, and is now just kind of sitting there, lodged in the ground. There's that again. I mean, it's just so improperly fit. Oh, interesting. It's taller over here. Like one side to experience more erosion is more rounded. Oh, there's definitely evidence. Whew. Okay, let's go a little forward here. Downloads. I think I had some more images in here. Nope. Okay, I guess not. So let's look at it. Let's kind of think about this. Is it possible geologically where this is? Tonga Tapu. Like, one thing I immediately notice is this kind of shape. Just the shape in here. I don't know where this thing is. Let's see if we can find it. Haʻamonga, Maui. It's probably in there, right? See if it works. The hell, Google Earth. Be nice to know exactly where it is. Oh, right on the edge. There's also this channel, very similar to this channel. through the blue one, or red, whichever direction it was. Reminiscent of that here, with like a pillar here, and maybe as well as across here, maybe. I'm just kind of spitballing here. I mean, obviously, it's just crapshoot on if that has any relationship. Doesn't really show anything per se. Let's see what we got in these. Definitely some writing on it. Probably after the fact, though. Cool. So that leads to, like, maybe there's other Maui had the brothers and sisters, or whatever the narrative of the legends of Maui are, that are other spheres. That then brings to mind this, the Hawaiian hotspot track. This area is covered in hotspots. And Tonga, this way, this one, the Louisville hotspot, I believe is the right one. Here. Seems kind of like maybe along that track. From there, it seems to start here and maybe not really be related. Oh, darn, I couldn't sneeze. But yeah, I was thinking maybe the hotspot track, hotspot highway of this area is related to these other spheres rolling that are like siblings of Maui. Which kind of at least points to the area. So maybe this is a sibling of Maui too, is what I was thinking. It's kind of looking in this way. It's like a point, at the tip of a point kind of thing. Let's see. I guess it's a shadow. Oh my god. That's crazy. I guess it's facing north-south with the opening then, right? Where this aligns east-west, this aligns north-south. Its position, I mean, it is really in line with like this nose, the beak, specifically, where like this current flow is coming out this way. I mean, generally propagating into resistance and all this stuff going on, but with the pressure pointing there, so it's possible that some current generally was going through like that. as like applying a general cross current, like over here, wherever it was. In one direction, and then another direction, another current related to like the down this way, applying a pressure down into New Zealand, pretty much into New Zealand, pushing it away into the Hikarangi Plateau, pushing it away, moving those apart from this location by this current. So there's one current going down along basically this spine thing, and another current along this nose beak thing, that are then interacting in the proper directions of like the current flows necessary for this, even if it's like the other way, like actually this way. And although I believe this one, I would suggest if it's actually going this way, this is probably therefore going that way too, or whichever way, like that way or this way, was the dominant energy that moved it off. If there was a lid thing that is now just kind of across the way from it. So it has current flows, although I just did realize something interesting. Whoa. Dear God. Oh my God. Can just see the current flows down through there, right into here, just pushing. Just this flow into resistance. Through it. Along like that channel even to create that volcano probably. Really makes me think of the Iceland volcanism coupled with the Atlantic meridian AMOC Atlantic meridional. 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 I don't know how to actually say the word. So AMOC. Nor do I ever remember meridional meaning. So the current from the South Atlantic, I guess, or going south. I don't know. But Iceland has been having volcanism, and the AMOC is weakening, and makes me think that because it's weakening, it's not able to drop the water as low of a depth, so it almost becomes like more of a direct current into Iceland. If it's dropping down, it's more into the ground, not all into Iceland. Maybe there's some extra force being applied to Iceland that is leading to volcanism there. That relates to how this current flow was flowing through here, and volcanism happened here, it seems. It's like a similar mechanic, just way more energetic here when it was happening. I don't know what to do besides look at the, like, for more evidence to really conclude one way or the other. In the minimum, if it's man-made, it looks like there's text on the top. And if it's not man-made, well, it's because it relates to the Hawaiian sphere in some way. Like this current is definitely related to the Hawaiian sphere. Current going this way, around here, around this way, and off this way, pretty much. Is at a time when the Hawaiian sphere was moving, coupled with a current going the other direction, which definitely relates to the Hawaiian sphere as this location relates to it. So I could see it being related to Maui as well. Maui, the legend of the legends of Maui. Okay, so that's all I got on this for now. I thought I'd share. It's pretty interesting. I've got looking at Aurora caves with the same principle in mind. Is it possible? Like, could it be? That would be so incredible. Is it? There's definitely signs, in the least. What I'm thinking after doing that, as a little short premise into it, Aurora caves. What I was thinking is maybe they did make it with currents, but they did it more intentionally in this case, in a more technologically like advanced thing kind of way, and not like a product of the flood so much. More like they knew how to do this, but they did it with currents, and because there's signs like pressure points, like somewhere. Why is this here? Maybe because it's like a pressure point for the current to apply resistance into, so that it can apply force over there to etch over there, because it needs this pressure point to push it into. So like there it is, maybe kind of thing. But that's a little preview for that. I also found some other interesting stuff that definitely relates, which will be my actual next video. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching. Peace out.